Hi guys, my name's Andy, I'm a Suffolk audiophile. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, let's be clear. I am a Pink Floyd uber fan and have been since I can remember. I have micro-analysed most of their material, having played in several Pink Floyd tribute bands. So I think it's fair to say I should have an idea of what I'm talking about as regards to music. But here's the thing, we all have favourites and we all have those songs that we either skip because they're turkeys or just don't play as we've become fed up and bored with them. Case in question for me is Dark Side of the Moon. Certainly a top tier album by anybody, but I tend to binge it for a few weeks and then find I can't play it for around a year because I easily get bored with it. I just can't bring myself to listen to it anymore. I need a break. Certain songs have just become a bit cliche to me as Pink Floyd songs, that I can no longer listen to them. Maybe that's the fault of playing in tribute bands. I always seem to concentrate on Dark Side and very little else. But anyway, this video is just a bit of light-hearted fun to put out there. What songs I find myself skipping because they're either a turkey or I'm just not listening to, and why. All bands have them, the Beatles, the Stones, loads of bands, and Pink Floyd are no different. What I did find doing this though is that later into the discography it was actually harder to find any turkeys until we got to the Gilmour era. My comments are my own opinions and aren't meant to be taken literally. And some of my reasons may be a tad controversial, but hey, I'm only being honest. So on with the rundown. Let's crack on with this. Right, Piper at the Gates of Dawn. My choice on this is Power Talk H. There's a lot of good stuff on Piper, but this is one song I tend to skip. It's a nonsense song. Ended up being included on the Man and the Journey suite. I suppose it's of its time, the Psychedelic Underground and all that. And they did perform it live on Look of the Week for Hans Keller. Look of the Week, which I suppose was good.
Why has it all got to be so terribly loud?
Next on the agenda is A Saucer Full of Secrets. My choice on this is Corporal Plague. The difficult second album with Sid not totally compos mentis by this time, so writing credits were mostly Walter's on this album. Walter's therefore penned Corporal Plague. Not a strong contender, but I do prefer the mono version for some reason. It's quite a memorable song, for all the wrong reasons. The use of a kazoo by David Gilmour is a fine example of what makes this song so bad. It's not high on my list of songs to listen to. Next on the agenda, soundtrack to the film More. A Spanish piece. More is scattered with some gems, but being a film soundtrack album, there is the inclusion of the dreaded incidental music. Cue a Spanish piece, penned by David Gilmour. The only redeeming thing in this song is the dialogue. Laugh at my lisp and I'll kill you, I think. Which always makes me laugh. The A-side of the album is better than the B-side, and in all honesty, I never, if ever, listen to the B-side. I just find it a little bit meh. Next on the agenda, we have Gumma. The Grand Vizier's Garden Party. Say no more. Stick to playing the drums, Nick. To be fair, by his own admission, he's a drummer and not a songwriter, so it's not a bad effort, I suppose, from someone that isn't a musician. Cue drummer joke here. What do you call a man that hangs around with musicians? A drummer. It's an extended drum solo, that's it. There's a small musical aspect though, and with Mason's wife, Lindy, playing the flute. What about several species of small furry animals, I hear you say? Well, I actually like that track and listen to it on repeat most weeks, he says lyingly. Next on the agenda is Atom Heart Mother. My choice on this album is Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast. Alan Stiles is the titular character making breakfast and talking about it in this song. He was one of Floyd's roadies, if you didn't know, and he's featured on the back cover of Ummagumma, along with actress Naomi Watts' dad, Peter Watts, who was also a Floyd roadie. Breakfast in Los Angeles, microbiotic stuff. It's another rambling concept piece by Nick Mason. He really should stick to playing the drums. I secretly like this track, but I had to choose one off the album, so that's my excuse. I make no apologies for this one. Medal, and my choice on this album is Sheamus. Sheamus, complete filler and shouldn't have been included on the album. Apparently Steve Marriott's dog on the recordings, as Gilmour was dog sitting for him at the time of the recording. Regardless, it's just filler, and I'll never listen to it unless by total accident and I forget to lift the needle off the record in time. Oh, next, Obscured by Clouds. This is quite a hard one actually, because there's quite a lot of good songs on this, but I had to choose one, and I've chosen Absolutely Curtains. Not much to say about this piece. It's so far down in the weeds of Floyd's forgettable songs, it's just forgettable. In fact, it's so forgettable that I almost forgot to include it. I suppose its only excuse is it's from a soundtrack and it's incidental music and fits in with the film's screen narrative, but as a standalone track, it's not good. Obscured by Clouds, however, is a more cohesive soundtrack album than more, and features more actual songs rather than just a lot of incidental music, which the B-side of More was afflicted by. It's at this point in proceedings that it generally starts to get difficult to choose a turkey off of any of their albums, but I'll try. Next on the agenda, The Dark Side of the Moon. My choices on this were hard. It's a behemoth of an album, and in all honesty, there isn't a turkey on it. But I'm bored with it, if I'm honest. I've heard it to death, but if I had to make a choice due to having a gun pointed to my head, it would be Great Gig in the Sky or Money. Both for the same reason. Both songs have been listened to or played to death. If I hear those cash registers or Claire Torrey's warbling again, I'll scream. But secretly, they're both stellar songs. I just don't listen to them anymore, unless I have to. Next, another one. This is getting harder. Wish You Were Here. Right, my choice on this. Oh, look, I love this album, but I had to choose one from it, and in this instance, I choose Have a Cigar. This is the weakest song on the album, in my opinion. I suppose the fact they couldn't decide on who could sing it better out of Gilmour or Waters doesn't help. That Gilmour felt compelled to ask Roy Harper to sing on it instead, who did an excellent job, which really pissed Waters off, apparently. Next, Animals. Oh God. Okay, I choose Pigs on the Wing, parts 1 and 2. It doesn't fit in with the narrative of the album. It's a love song written to Walter's wife at the time, Carolyn Christie. So for that reason, it's just not venomous or angry enough. Well, I must have an excuse to choose it, and that's it. To be honest, this album is my favourite album by any group, so it's hard choosing from an album which in my mind is perfect. The only criticism now is that this is crap compared to the 2018 remix. That's my opinion anyway. Oh! The Wall. Although technically not the worst track on the album, as there aren't many, and I rarely skip it, I find Empty Spaces annoying, as it should be the long version, which includes the track What Shall We Do Now, which was segued onto the end of it on the Wall movie. But it wouldn't fit on the vinyl at the time of the release, even though they included the lyrics on the inner sleeve. I think they should have made some small cuts elsewhere to fit it in, or just remove Young Lust, which is a song I do tend to skip. Next on the agenda, The Final Cut. My choice on this is Not Now John. The song is like Marmite. It has its Uber fans and people that couldn't care less about it. Unfortunately, I fall into the latter. I rarely, if ever, listen to this song and will happily hop, skip and jump to Two Suns in the Sunset. I will say though that the 12-inch single vinyl release of it is worth getting hold of though. if only for the B-side, which features the full-length version of The Hero's Return, both parts 1 and 2. Really worth checking out. But yeah, not now, John. Yeah, not now, John. Next, Momentary Lapse of Reason. I haven't got the album of Momentary Lapse of Reason, and there is a reason for that. I haven't bought it yet when I started recollecting vinyl, but off this album I choose Learning to Fly, Dogs of War, One Slip. There's probably more dodgy songs on this album than these three, purely down to the 80s production values and the fact that it's essentially a Gilmour solo album in all but name. Which in itself isn't a bad thing, except that he hardly wrote any of the lyrics, and most of the recording was done by him, Bob Ezrin, and a multitude of session players. I'll go with One Slip though, due to Scott Page and his insistence on appearing on the track live with his seriously bad mullet and headless Steinberger guitar that likely wasn't even plugged in. Shout out to Guy Pratt and the road crew for slowly shortening his guitar cable at every subsequent gig, so eventually he couldn't get on the stage properly. Next, The Division Bell, Wearing the Inside Out. Now, I love Rick's writing. Bad pun, I know. But this is not his strongest effort. His album Wet Dream is a classic and worth checking out. Broken China is a bit meh, I can take or leave it. In all honesty, I have so much respect for Rick Wright, I can forgive him his turkeys. He was a lovely, gentle guy, and he's sorely missed, and without him we wouldn't have had Floyd songs we have now. He was so integral to the sound of the band, even on songs like Absolutely Curtains. We miss him, and the world is a worse place without him, but yeah, Wearing the Inside Out, not for me. Sorry, Rick. Some bonus stuff. Live at Nebworth. Great gig in the sky. Again. Right. Oh God, where do I start? Claire Torry's car crash performance. Even though I have the vinyl release of this, the completest that I am, I have never listened to it all the way through except sound bites from it when I first got it, and this one track. It's a bit crap. I remember listening to this performance on BBC Radio 1 when it was being broadcast live from Nebworth Park. I remember almost falling off my chair when I heard Claire Torry perform this on Radio 1. I almost cried. I'm convinced they fixed a few things on this to make it listenable, as the original performance by her was just awful in my memory. Glad I didn't go to the concert, it pissed down all day. And yeah, live at Nebworth. And the final one. The Endless River. I will say from the outset that I really like this album. It's experimental in the same way that some of their earlier movie soundtracks were, and the studio LP of Ummagumma and even Atom Heart Mother. This album harks back to their late 60s experimental phase, and a lot of people who were expecting another Division Bell were left scratching their heads. I love the way they've used Rick's keyboard parts to create new ambient soundscapes. But, and there is always a but, it's great until louder than words. Now, I really like Polly Sampson as a person. I find her funny, and she's a great foil for Mr. Gilmour, and by all accounts, she's a good novelist. But whoever told her she could write lyrics needs shooting. I'm not a fan, if I'm honest, and find some of her lyrics cringeworthy. Myriad Small Creatures Trying to Tie Us to the Ground, anybody? This was just a bit of fun, and my choices will likely change week by week, month by month. I intend to build on my Final Cut shootout video link below, doing some more shootouts in the coming months as I acquire some more Pink Floyd OG pressings. Although some of those may be out of my price range, with near mint A2B2 first pressings of Dark Side going north of £1,200. That's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, this was just a bit of fun. You know, we've all got favourites. We've all got songs that we think, I can't listen to that again. I can't listen to that. That was my reasoning behind this video. Anyway, that's it for today. I've got a shootout video coming next week, plus some new vinyl finds, which I'll be showing you. So with all that said, click like and subscribe, do all the usual stuff, and I shall see you next week. Cheers, bye bye.